So let me ask you about something that you said at the debate last week. You used the phrase inside job to describe what happened on January 6th.
We do have a government, first of all, we have to acknowledge that has lied to us systematically over the last several years about the origin of COVID-19, about the Hunter Biden laptop that we were told was false by 51 CIA experts and otherwise before we now know that it was true. You can go straight down the list, the Trump-Russia disinformation collusion hoax, all of it. Now we come to January 6th. The reality is we know that there were federal law enforcement agents in that field. We don't know how many. I think it's shameful. If I may finish just answering,
well,
this is really important.
I'm going to go ahead and interrupt you here because
I know the establishment doesn't approve of this message. I know
that there were federal agents.
We should be able to talk about this.
You're saying that there were federal agents.
This is important to talk about.
You are saying there were federal agents in the crowd on January 6th.
Yep.
There is no evidence that there were federal agents in the crowd on January 6th.
So why, before Congress, when pressed on what the number was, they didn't say there were none. They just couldn't say how many there were.
So you're saying that that you have not seen any evidence that there were.
We've seen multiple informants suggesting that there were. We know people were FBI informants who were asked to do this.
Is there any evidence?
May I just finish this and you can come back and question me?
Well, let me clarify.
I know it's very uncomfortable for you.
I'm going to clarify my question.
I know this is an uncomfortable issue for many people, but we have to do the truth here.
I'm going to clarify my question because I want to make sure that you understand what I'm asking.
I understand this deeply. And I told you, I was with you 3 years ago. I'm not there now.
Where is the evidence?
Yes.
Where is the evidence that the government had a plot,
let's do this.
An inside job?
But no, I'm going to tell you what an inside job is because I'm not
violence on January 6th.
I'm not going to let you put words in my mouth. I'm going to put my words in my mouth. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that.
Where is the evidence that the government was involved in planning or executing January 6th?
So I'm going to give you hard facts. And if I may, Abby, I know this is going to be a little uncomfortable, but we're going to go through this, and you can push back on it after that. And you can push back on that. And let's do this fairly. Why did they suppress footage of now what's been released, 200 hours of footage of shooting rubber bullets into that crowd, shooting tear gas into that crowd? You didn't see that before. You saw what the response was to that. Now you see footage coming out of actually rolling out the red carpet for Capitol Police allowing people in.
Again,
right through the front door.
The vast majority of the footage.
Video evidence should have been released before, Abby.
Mr. Ramaswamy, the vast majority of the footage shows police officers being overrun
and I want to talk about one more
by
case.
violent
this is really important.
riders. That's
I'm going to give you some hard facts.
Of it shows.
So here's what entrapment is.
Cherry pick.
I'm not cherry picking. If I may finish, Abby. If I may finish, Abby. I'm not cherry picking.
Examples.
To the contrary. To the contrary.
You know who cherry picked examples? You know who cherry picked? The government. That is what happened.
The government cherry picked 12 hours of footage. When there was 200 hours of footage. So cherry picking was the government, not me. Release the whole thing. And let me just finish one thing, too, because this is super important as a topic.
So I
think this is a civil libertarian issue of our time.
Gretchen
Whitmer's kidnapping. I want to be really clear on this, because it's the same issue in the same FBI, same even part of the FBI. 3 people who were in an alleged plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer were acquitted at the end of trial because it was entrapment. That is, government agents put them up to do something they otherwise wouldn't have done. Same thing with the Capitol Police. People letting them in freely. Many of those people then being charged.
Look,
the government cannot put you up to do something and then charge you for it. That's wrong.
I don't want to have
to. Wrong to the left, or the right.
I don't want to have to interrupt you. I really don't. But I don't want you to mislead the audience here or at home.
I think they've been misled by the mainstream media.
14 people.
The mainstream media has misled them.
14 people were charged in that plot. A majority of them were convicted.
I said 3 of them were acquitted on grounds of entrapment. That's a fact. Dispute me. Was I wrong about that?
What folks need to understand.
Was I wrong about what I said?
What
I was
folks
not.
need to understand
3 people were acquitted on grounds of entrapment.
9 were convicted.
A juror apologized.
9 were convicted.
Yeah, but the 3 who were put up should have never got to that stage of a trial.
The January 6th
That's unacceptable in the United States.
Look, I just want people to understand. 3 people were acquitted. 9 people were convicted in that plot. But let me get back to our audience here.
We will use our own military to secure our own border. Right now, we can use it to secure somebody else's border. Let's use it to secure our own southern border and our northern border, too. Don't forget about that. Complete the border wall. Stop federal aid to any Central American country until they have secured their own borders for every country between Venezuela and Mexico. Then I want to implement, I would say, the best border policies of all, which is ending the illegal incentives to be here. End birthright citizenship for the kids of illegal migrants to whom the 14th Amendment does not apply. End federal funding to sanctuary cities. Many people skip this one, but this one's the hard one. I do believe that anybody who's in this country illegally needs to be returned to their country of origin. Not because they're all bad people. In fact, many of them are good people. Many of them, if we're being honest, if we were in their shoes and there's a president of the United States who's been giving them a wink and a nod to come on over, if we were in a tough spot, maybe we would have done the same thing. So this is not a value judgment about those people. It's a value judgment about this country. We're founded on the rule of law. We don't need new laws. The existing law, it's called 287G. It allows you to actually serve an ICE agent to allow local law enforcement across this country to serve their warrants. That's 1 million law enforcement officers. We can then get that done. But again, all it takes is a president with the spine. And if I swear an oath to the Constitution, I intend to keep it. I hope my best days are still ahead of me. And I think as a leader, I reject this narrative that we have to be that nation in decline, that we have to be ancient Rome. I think our nation, like you, is actually a little young. Going through our own version of adolescence. Figuring out who we're going to be when we grow up. And when you view it that way, it all makes sense again. To me, it does. You go through that identity crisis. You lose your way a little bit. I don't know about you, but I did some stupid things, right? But we're stronger for it when we get to our adulthood on the other side. So no, I don't think we have to be that nation in decline. And tell the people in your class the same thing. We can still be a nation in our ascent.